Yes, sir. We back, baby, like we never left. You know how we get down, man. Hey, this is the grand finale. You know, you got them running backs, you got them quarterbacks, you got them receivers. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. This is the running backs. You had your tight ends, your quarterbacks, and them receivers. Now we back to the end of the line. But hey, this might be the most important part of the line because the playoffs starting up. And in order to get them championships back to back, you got to run it back, baby. So my boy here, cook it up. He here to give you the recipe. The chef is in the kitchen. Rock, man, let us know what's good, what's popping, and hey, how we gonna win these championships back to back, or maybe the first one in the league, Playboy? Let us know something.
Biz, today we are entering the running back pantheon. We're going to see which of these guys have ascended to God tier status. So we're going to be talking about guys like CMC, like Jonathan Taylor, who are on the thumbnail, but there's a lot of other guys that my process was able to dig up. I have a lot of faith in my process, especially when it comes to the RBs. Last year, I was able to hit on guys like Derrick Henry, the King, like Kamara, like Kyren, but there's lots of other guys. Year to year, it changes, Fizz. So we can't always go off of what happened last year. This year, plenty of newcomers that are entering into that elite status, Fizz. So I'm super excited to be able to get into it with you. This is probably the one position that I have the most faith in, Fizz. It took me over 10 hours just to be able to dig up all the stats for this because I use 19 different metrics for these RBs. It's pretty exhaustive whenever it comes to this position. So I'm very excited to be able to share it with you, get some reactions from you, but hopefully win some people some championships. So before I start getting into all these different players, who to buy, who to sell, I want to ask you, Fizz, what do you think of 2025 when it comes to the running back position? Because it seemed like last year was an anomaly, but it's happening again this year, Fizz. Maybe it's not an anomaly. So I'm very pleased with the RB position this year. What do you think of it?
I'll just say, bro, coming into this season, I think we've learned a lesson from what I've seen. And that's when you get old, other than CMC, who's a God tier guy, these older running backs are starting to show us why we to kind of discount old running backs. I look at guys like Derrick Henry, who hasn't had the best bounce back season that we thought he would have. Saquon Barkley isn't old, but we saw when he reached his pinnacle, kind of taking that step back. Some of it is the offense, some of it is the Madden curse, like we talked about. But we will talk about Saquon a little bit. So I'm just giving a little bit of the recipe, but I'm just saying the young guys are here, baby. You feel me? Every week it seems like one of these young rookies or 2-3 year guys, man, are stepping up. And or maybe it's just the hype. Maybe it's in my head. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I just wanted to get younger at these positions. And, you know, some of that is a little bit of an illusion too, right? We think the old guys aren't good until they show us that they really are. So I like the mix and match with the running back position, especially this year, because we had guys like Hampton who got hurt, you know, Jeanty, who we started off slow. Now he's here. So I like just watching the cream rise to the top of the pack, should I say. You know what I'm saying? We watched them kind of at the bottom, and we gave up on some guys, and then poof, now they taking off. So that's probably my biggest take for 2025. Don't give up too early because now is the time the running backs got their foot on the tank, on the gas, and hey, man, the floor is going up. So that's what I like about the running backs this year, bro.
Yeah, I see a lot of the same things that you are as well. And what do we remember with the pre-draft process with this draft class, Fizz? It was one of the most athletic we've ever seen in combine history. So some of these RBs have definitely lived up to it. None of them have really super disappointed, though, Fizz, when it comes especially to the rookies. Some of them are going to be in tough situations. So when it comes to my process, if I had to boil it down to 4 major categories, it really focuses on snaps, the receiving game work, red zone work, and athleticism. So I start off my process the same way I do with all the other positions, Fizz. I use a baseline of points per game. I'm using PPR for these ones. Fizz, I looked at the top 57 running backs when it comes to points per game in PPR. And I have a lot of the same different types of categories. I have strong indicators, fair indicators, faint indicators, and considerations from our guy Hayden Winks at Underdog. But lastly, as the tiebreaker, I like to look at the playoffs, and we're about to enter into week 13, Fizz. So this is important to be able to start making these moves this week or in the next couple of weeks right before your playoffs. if you want to be able to secure that RB that's going to take you to a championship. So I'll look at weeks 13 through 17. Fizz, do you want to start off with the elite tier of RBs?
Well, I'll just say this. I kicked off with the elite of all time, the GOAT Ezekiel Elliott, baby. I had to make sure the God tier is here. You know what I'm saying? So let's get to the elite of 2025, though. You know, I had to always shout out my boy, man. That's my dog right there. But let's get to the young guys, man. The old guys is over with, man. I'm living back in the days, baby. Let's get to the elite tiers of right now, though.
Sounds good. So, who was the one RB Fizz that I talked about probably the most during the offseason? The guy that I feel like, regardless of his situation, how bad his environment is, that it just seems like it doesn't affect him. That he's just one of the most elite RBs when it comes to rushing and receiving, especially when it comes to that ungodly speed. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Well, I'm going to be honest, Rock, man. I'm going to give you one guess, and I think it's CMC, brother.
It's actually, not. It's actually...
I know it's not CMC. You hated him all season. I was trolling you. You didn't trust him all season. Saquon Barkley is definitely one of them guys, though.
Is Achane. Achane.
Right. I'm not following your own process because every underdog draft we did, it was Achane is your guy. Every mock draft we did, Achane is your guy. You know what? I need to start listening to you, okay? Because I clearly ain't listening, all right? Because you damn sure say Achane is your guy. Excuse me, brother. You got the floor. Here's the red carpet, man. Do your thing, brother.
It's all good, Fizz, because here's the thing about the RB position. You and me have lots of guys that we absolutely love that play the running back position. So we have multiple R guys. Achane was one of my favorites. Fizz, I was pretty surprised that he ranked number 1 in my process. And I think a lot of it has to do with his receiving work and his rushing upside. So he is top 10 in fantasy points per game, snap share, target share, routes per game, NFL dominator, evaded tackles, breakaway runs, Fizz. He has a 9.8% breakaway run rate. TDs, red zone touches, yards created per touch, targets per route run, elusiveness rating. So Fizz, when you're top 10 in almost every single metric that I have, you're going to rank very, very highly. So he ranked 10 points ahead of my number 2 RB, who is Jonathan Taylor. Then after him is Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, CMC, Saquon Barkley. Surprisingly, despite how tough things have been, it's not been on him. He has not really taken a step back, Fizz. The rest of the offense and that offensive line has taken a step back. Javonte Williams, Fizz. No one wanted to give him any credit. They said Dallas should have drafted an RB. I was definitely also one of those guys that was saying that. I thought it was over after the multiple injuries he had in Denver, despite that amazing rookie season he had. So I'm very happy to see that Javonte Williams is in my top 10 at number 7. Ashton Jeanty, Cam Scatterbo, Josh Jacobs rounds out my top 10. Fizz, my heart sank seeing Cam Scatterbo in the top 10. The fact that we might not be able to see him return to normalcy until 2027. Which is very, very unfortunate. He was having one of the best seasons of any RB this year. That was the guy that I wanted to plant my flag on during the whole offseason. There was no other RB that was coming in more productive both on the ground and in the receiving. And he carried that right through for that Giants team. And it was great to be able to enjoy it for a little bit. But yeah, man, it stinks having Cam Scatterbo hurt. Fizz, of those top 10 that I read, who are the guys that are the most surprising in that list? Who are the guys that maybe are not very surprising that you expect to be there?
So this is the great thing I like about this list, bro. You actually opened my eyes up to paying attention to some of the nuances that I didn't pay attention to in a sense. Because if you notice, a lot of these running backs that are top tier are in bad situations. Ashton Jeanty, bad situation. Achane, bad situation. Cam Scatterbo, bad situation. So almost every team you just named, bro, or a top tier player in a sense is almost in a bad situation. So that's kind of opening my eyes to say, even if the offense is bad, the running back still can be successful. You know what I'm saying? Because we look at receivers and we always say, well, if they score a little bit of point, I mean, if the defense is bad and the offense has to score, go get the receiver. But it's showing me that sometimes the running back is the receiver and the running back and everything else that this team need when it comes to trying to, add points and value to the NFL team. So just looking at this list with Achane, Jeanty, Scatterbo, and these guys, I'm seeing now that, hey, maybe bad situations aren't really that bad for running backs in fantasy, bro.
I'm glad that you brought that up, Fizz, because I will say that there is a very, very important wrinkle to what you said. With Cam Scatterbo, with Bijan Robinson, with Devon Achane, what's the one thing that really separates them from the rest of the pack? It's the receiving game, right?
Yeah, they
So if you have an RB that is on a bottom 10 to 15 offense that doesn't get receiving work, Fizz, the exact opposite is true of what you just said. Exactly. So that's the only thing that you want to be able to have, regardless of the circumstances. Those three RBs, because they have the receiving chops to their game, they're going to always be involved regardless of the game script. If they're up by 10, they're going to run the ball with them. If they're down by 10, they're going to want to pass the ball to these guys to get explosive plays. So I think that's one thing that we've been saying throughout this entire series is that if you do want to, trade for one of these guys or draft them next year, make sure that you are sticking with the top 10 to 15 offenses and that it's not just enough to be on a top 10 offense, Fizz. If you're going to be on a top 10 offense, you better be one of the top 3 players on that offense. So like for me, like Jahmyr Gibbs, he's easily the best player on the Detroit Lions. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor. He's easily the number 1 player on his offense. All these guys, I want to be one of the best players on their offense. So if you're bottom 10 offense, outside of Cam Scatterbo, when Malik Neighbors comes back, he's probably going to be the number 2 on that offense. And then the same thing can be said with the Miami Dolphins. There ain't no one better than Devon Achane on the Miami Dolphins. Jalen Waddle is a clear, distant second for Devon Achane. So make sure that we think about those things. Think about the circumstances. Think about the situation, where that team ranks at as a final deciding factor. But Fizz, I'll actually start getting into the next guy because I just talked about Devon Achane. Let me bring up, actually, before I do that, Fizz, a very important thing to do that we're going through is the playoff schedule. So starting this week in week 13 through 17, Fizz, he has one of the better playoff schedules. I'm talking about Devon Achane.
Okay.
His last 2 weeks are top 10 defenses that he's gone up against, or for the RB position, so bottom 10. So he goes against New Orleans Saints in week 13, then the New York Jets, then the Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati, and Tampa Bay. Those final 2 weeks, those are bottom 10 defenses. Those are going to be prime matchups for Devon Achane. Before we move on to the next guy, what is your main takeaway with Devon Achane?
Well, my main takeaway is you kept telling me he's the guy, right? That's the number one takeaway. I will admit. I don't know how I didn't get that in the beginning because that was definitely your guy. And I was always a little bit nervous of Achane, man, because of everything I just spoke about the situation. Tyreek Hill is fast. Waddle is fast. Why do they really, really need Achane to do too much when they have other guys that can do the same thing with the speed? The difference is, though, he's the most consistent one, reliably behind a bad situation of a quarterback, a bad offensive line. Hey, I can't, if I'm to it, I don't have time to wait for Waddle to get open. I got a guy right here that's faster than everybody that's already open. So just looking at how Achane plays and how they scheme him up, I'm curious to see how it's going to look if McDaniels leave, though. That's a big question, too. Because we know what he's doing now. But if they do a coach switch, what is the offense going to look like? Are they going to use Ollie Gordon, the big body running back? So those are big questions, too, when you do these buys. Yes, we're doing it for the playoff run because that's a sweet schedule. But next year, let's see what the offense really turns out to. So when you're doing these type of buys, hey, man, if you locked into the championship, man, don't worry about tomorrow. You feel me? Go get that championship now. But if it's still, keep it in the back of your head that situations change, quarterback and head coach situations change, and we don't know what this offense will be. I would just say if he survived and was that good in this terrible looking offense now, I don't see how I can get any worse next year. So, but I do think he's definitely a top tier guy, like you was telling us all summer, bro. I'll give you flowers on that one.
I appreciate that, Fizz. Tua is just bad enough or they have to over rely on Achane. If Tua was a little bit better, they'd probably be able to pass more, Fizz. But since he is as bad as he is, luckily McDaniel is good enough as an OC and an offensive mind and a coach that he does get Devon Achane involved in really spectacular ways. He has that speed. Here's the other things too. Achane is only 24 years old, Fizz. I mean, he very well may only be through halfway through his elite status. He could have 3 or 4 more years. So with their GM out, hopefully they're able to turn this team around. And I do think because McDaniel has been rattling off some impressive wins, when you get to beat the Buffalo Bills, you don't want to let go of a coach like that. Maybe you want to reconsider every other position, Fizz. So I think Achane is here to stay for a while. Let's go on to one of the guys that's on the thumbnail, Fizz. One of the guys I was talking about this year, I was kind of staying away at his price.
Yeah.
I thought the best was behind him, and he's definitely really proven me wrong in a huge way, Christian McCaffrey. Mm-hmm. So Christian McCaffrey, he ranked as 5th on my list. Fizz, here are some of the crazy stats, historical stats that he has been able to accomplish in 2025. So in week 9, when he had both a rushing and receiving touchdown against the New York Giants, Christian McCaffrey he had the 16th career game where he was able to have both a rushing and receiving touchdown. That surpassed Marshall Faulk for the most such games in NFL history. So, which is really, really crazy. McCaffrey is on pace to become the first player ever to post 1,000 rushing and receiving yards twice in his career, Fizz. He did that the first time in 2019. You remember that season when he was with the Carolina Panthers?
Yeah, man.
That was absolutely
crazy.
That
was his household name year right there.
Yeah.
Everyone knew who he was after that year.
He's doing it again in 2025. And he's also, in his first 30 games, Fizz, with San Francisco, he has scored 34 touchdowns. That ranks as the second most total TDs by a player through their first 30 games with a new team in NFL history. I don't know who was the first one to be able to do that, but yeah, it seems like he hasn't really dropped off at all between Carolina and going to this new place in San Francisco in the Bay Area. So very impressive what he's doing. Fizz, he is top 10 in points per game. If in PPR, he's actually number 1, Fizz, at 25.9. He barely edges out Jonathan Taylor at 25.7. He's got 83.3% snap share. He's top 10 in target share, routes per game, dominator, evaded tackles, TDs. He has 11. He has 55 red zone touches, Fizz. That's the most of any RB this season. And then targets per route run in production rank and expected production rank. So what do you think of CMC this year? I think of a lot of these guys that I'm talking about, he's actually probably the cheapest, considering Jonathan Taylor, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson. Fizz, those are all top 4 guys for me. But Christian McCaffrey is like half the price of like Bijan Robinson or Jonathan Taylor. So that's why I feel like he's more of a buy considering those other guys. And also, too, his last week in the championship game, if you're able to get him there, he's going up against Chicago, which is not that great of a defense, Fizz, which makes him even more of a buy. So what do you think of CMC? And if he's playing like this, Fizz, I feel like he's got at least 2 to 3 more years of solid production behind him.
Yeah, and this is the crazy part about what you just said at the end, of 2 or 3 more years, right? Because no matter how good CMC looks, people always think about the injury bug with him, bro. They in the back of their mind, they are still saying, if I buy him, he can get hurt the next week or the week after or the week after. And that's the only like gold star beside his name is just injury. You know what I'm saying? So when you're going to buy him, that's always in the back of your head. If you're the seller, you like, look, if you want to win, this guy is going to get you to win. So those are the two like sellers. Hey, I got to sell them to you. If you want them, come get them. If I'm buying, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking no matter how good he's been, I never got to reap the benefits of those points that you got. I'm just hoping that when I get him, he doesn't get hurt on me. You know what I'm saying? So it's always an asterisk by his name, unfortunately, because of the injury history. But I'm glad you have him as the God tier, because I told you I think he's a Hall of Famer, maybe top 5 for sure in running backs. But we talking 2025, not top 5. And I just say Christian McCaffrey, man, is a buy. And I think you're right, though. The Jonathan Taylor versus Christian McCaffrey price tag. That's a big difference. I've seen Jonathan Taylor go for 2 firsts and a running back. And I haven't seen any recent CMC trades in my leagues currently, because most people have them. If you already have them, you're going to the championship or you're in the playoff, you're in a top 3 team almost. So do you sell them, Rock? If the price is, that's what I'm going to ask you. If the price is too good, but you're actually a contending team, because most people that had CMC is contending. You know what I'm saying? Most people are not selling them because they're contending. So if you have them and you're contending because you're winning, but if somebody hits you with a price that sounds so crazy, are you willing to risk it for this year? Or are you saying, nah, bro, he too good. I can't allow it. You know what I'm saying? What are you doing with that situation?
I think if you're contending, you have to do everything that you can to make sure that you're contending with the players that you have in your arsenal. So if I have CMC, the only way I'm going to be able to trade him away is if I do get 2 first fists, because I'm seeing him go for like a first and a second. I've seen that a few different times. I think that's his price tag right there.
Okay.
So it has to be more than that, Fizz. It has to be a first and a second and another player that's worth close to like 2 seconds. So like if I am able to get like first and second Davante Adams, it has to be something to that caliber where I'm able to stay in that race. But then here's the other thing is too. Before I hit accept on like 2 firsts for CMC, I want to make sure that I can use that capital and I have another trade that's in the works.
Have a backup plan. Yep. I like
because
that.
You don't want to just, those 2 firsts aren't going to help you win a championship next year. You want to use it this year. So if I'm able to then take those 2 firsts and then go after Jonathan Taylor or something like that, or a first and a second, another player, use that first and a second to go after maybe, I don't know, some of these other players on this list, Fizz, like as Josh Jacobs, who we're going to talk about later. That's the only way I'm going to be able to feel good about hitting accept on that. But Fizz, if you have a guy that's on pace to have 1,000 yards, more than 1,000 yards receiving and rushing, who's number 1 in PPR ahead of Jonathan Taylor, get your championship. Don't overthink it. Don't mess it up. So yeah, that's what I would do.
I'm with you. Now I don't want to bring that up because I'm sure people listening might be in that scenario where they have a winning team, but somebody offering them for CMC. And most times, the people that's offering you for CMC is probably the team that you're competing with. So then do you sell them to the team? You know what I'm saying? So I want to make sure that people understand, like, if you got them, man, unless you're out of the playoffs for whatever reason, because if you have CMC, most likely you aren't. But if you are, for whatever reason, I just don't see me selling them, man. I'm going to go get the gold, baby.
Last time I remembered, Fizz, the whole point of fantasy football is to win, not always just be building all the time. This ain't Legos. We want to be able to actually win these championships and get these trophies, not always be rebuilding. So
I'm with you.
One of the most surprising ones in this list, Fizz, was Saquon Barkley at number 6.
I was surprised
because we were just talking about it on our cook-up show about how frustrating the running game is. That's easily the biggest regression compared to where the Eagles were last year, Fizz. Last year, they're one of the best running teams. This year, they are below average when it comes to running the ball. A lot of it has to do with their offensive line and their new OC, who has not really been able to put those positions in a place to be able to succeed. But when it comes to who Saquon Barkley is as a player, I was very glad to see that he is still top 10 in snap share, in target share, in evaded tackles. And the other thing is too, he is still one of the most athletic RBs in the NFL. I mean, he came into the league at the combine with the 96th percentile and the 99th percentile speed score and 97th percentile with the burst score. That's via Player Profiler. So when I watch him play, he hasn't lost any of that juice. And Hayden Wink still has him both top 10 in expected and production ranks. But the nicest thing is that the Eagles are number 2 in neutral run rate. They are running the hell out of the ball. So with all those different things, and Saquon Barkley still, he hasn't had any major injuries recently. He's still upright in 2025, despite the huge workload that he had last year, Fizz. So, what do you think of Saquon Barkley, especially considering his age at 28 years old? He's still got a few years left.
He
So,
does.
do you want to buy him at probably his lowest price that you're going to be able to see him?
I'll just say this: if you were to buy him, this is the time, because coming into the season, like even playing underdog, they had him as like number 3 running back on the list. And me and you were kind of like a little sketchy about it. And just looking at the season, like I said, when you put him in this top tier list, I was like, oh man, I'm surprised to see this name, because every week I'm going through, man. All I'm hearing is Saquon. He had 20 some yards against Dallas. The week before that, he had like 30 some yards. So it hasn't been consistent. And Jalen Hurts still in the push touchdowns don't help either, right? So if you were to buy Saquon Barkley, like you said, the guy just renewed his contract. He's in one of the best offenses, regardless of the offensive play calling. They're one Kellen Moore away / new OC to him being another 1,500-yard rushing running back. So if you're going to buy him, this is the time, because I'm sure whoever's has him, they're tired of looking at him on their team. So this is the time for sure. And again, one play caller away from him getting right back the way he is. He haven't suffered no injuries, Rock. We ain't heard no hamstrings, no nothing. So the guy is built like a tank. Let's just trust that the tank is still rolling, man. So I would go get him, man, at this price currently right now if I had to.
And the nice thing is also, too, Fizz, his schedule is one of the best. So he plays Chicago in week 13. Week 14, he's got the Chargers. Look at these last 3. Week 15, 16, 17, you got the Las Vegas Raiders, who are terrible. You got the Washington Commanders, awful. And then you have the Buffalo Bills, who have the worst rush defense in the NFL, Fizz. So it's just like, if you're able to get him for cheap, say you can't get CMC first and a second, maybe you can get Saquon Barkley for a first and a second. He might be on one of those rosters that's in the bottom half of the league. I'll send you a first and a second for Saquon. All right, yeah, sure. I'll dig that. And then you get those 3 prime matchups.
The second. Right now, people might just look at the first and say, okay,
that would be wild. If you can get him for a first, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen AJ Brown go for first. I don't see why Saquon couldn't, at this pace right now. So I would start off with the first before I send the first and the second, is what I'm trying to say. So start off low, and then, hey, man, first, second get added in, cool. But yeah, I'm definitely a buyer right now of Saquon Barkley if I'm in need of a running back competing for the playoff spot.
Okay, and then there's also, too, one of my favorite RBs in the NFL, Fizz, Josh Jacobs. So Josh Jacobs, he rounds out my elite list in the top 10. So he is top 10 in points per game, dominator rating, evaded tackles. He has 11 touchdowns, Fizz, 44 red zone touches, and targets per route run. He's also top 10 in. And the nice thing is that the Green Bay Packers heavily utilize the RB position. We just saw what Emmanuel Wilson was able to do with Josh Jacobs out. They're going to try to get him back for his very pivotal game for the division against the Detroit Lions. So they are number 6 when it comes to utilizing the RB position. And with more receivers that keep getting hurt, Fizz, Jaden Reed I don't know when he's finally going to come back. They're heavily relying on Christian Watson in that running game. So when he comes back, I think he's one of the safest, easiest plug-in, don't worry about it players in the NFL at the RB position. What do you think of Josh Jacobs? Because I think he's been amazing ever since he's landed in Green Bay.
Well, unfortunately, we're releasing this after he's already done played on Thursday. So for those that's looking to buy, or you hear his name, he already played yesterday. You feel me? So we're releasing this on Friday. But as far as what he's already done, even if you don't trust, let's just say, Josh Jacobs to be better than what we've already seen, the one thing I will say is what you just said. Wilson stepped right in, bro, and had a game of his career in 1 week. You know what I'm saying? So if Wilson can do that behind this offensive line, behind the scheme of this offense, just trust Josh Jacobs can continue to keep it going. So minus this little, seems like a minor injury, because he said he wants to play and most likely he will play. Discount him this week, him coming off of an injury, but going forward, especially for the playoff run, man, when it get cold outside, trust me, Jordan Love won't be stepping back throwing that ball 45, 50 times. They're going to lean on their workhorse running back, which is Josh Jacobs, because ain't nobody running no Christian Watson in the snow. You feel me? So Josh Jacobs for the snow games, especially in that Lombardi Bowl, man, it's going to get cold and real deep out there, baby. So I would go out there and give me some Josh Jacobs because, hey, man, you need these top tier running backs. You're looking for some straight competitive running back consistency. Josh Jacobs going to be there. And again, the Bama plays in Green Bay, Rock. One thing I know about Green Bay, you don't want to throw the damn ball. You want to run the ball. So Josh Jacobs definitely still elite. And I sleep on Josh Jacobs every year, man. So it's time for me to finally give him some flowers. All right, let me give him some flowers now, man. I don't know why I sleep on him, but shout out Josh Jacobs, man.
And he's still only 27 years old. He's been in the NFL for 7 years, Fizz. He came in as one of the youngest prospects in his respective draft class. And in the last 2 weeks, Fizz, he's got top 10 matchups with the Chicago Bears and the Baltimore Ravens. Baltimore, I think they're starting to get their stuff together with Kyle Hamilton. I think he's one of the best defenders, especially against the run, Fizz. So that is a little bit tougher, but despite that, they give up the 10th most to the RB position as far as fantasy points go. So he's got one of the better playoff schedules. But let's talk about a guy that I was after Saquon Barkley. I was super surprised he was in my top 10, Fizz, because people feel pretty sour after probably spending their number one overall pick in their rookie drafts. Let's talk about the awful situation that's going on in Las Vegas with Ashton Jeanty, because he looks like the only bright spot, him and Brock Bowers in Las Vegas, Fizz. So give me your initial impression of Ashton Jeanty, and then we'll talk through why he might be still worth a buy.
Well, I just say the one thing you just brought up was he looks like the only bright spot. I mean, Brock Bowers too. But when you are in a bad situation like this and you still look like the only bright spot, that's worth a buy for me, because you're on your rookie year. You're one of the smallest guys probably in the league. And it was a whole lot of hype around you when we drafted you. Number one overall, number two, whichever spot you took him. Starting early, it was looking a little shaky. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, Rock, you got to stay at the slot machine until you hit, baby. And I think we finally hit. We put the tokens in. The penny slot machine wasn't working. We had to step up to the 5-cent machine. And we got there. I think we here now. And it's Ashton Jeanty time out there in Vegas. I mean, not every week, though, it's going to be consistent. But the one thing you brought up earlier with the Achane and all that is he still can catch the ball, too. So if the run game not clicking with him, throw the ball. And then PPR leagues, the man can have 5 catches for 5 yards. That's 5 points. You feel me? So he's an athletic dual threat on the ground and with his hands. So Ashton Jeanty is still a buy, man. And if anybody trying to sell him for a discounted price, he's definitely a buy for sure.
The Las Vegas Raiders definitely came up snake eyes when it came to all the receivers that they drafted.
Yeah.
They are not they're both healthy scratches the last few weeks, Fizz, which is, I don't know why the Las Vegas Raiders are doing that, but what has happened in return is that Ashton Jeanty has gotten a hell of a lot more receiving work over the last month. So I think they're going to continue to do that. Fizz, he is top 10 in snaps, in target share, in routes per game, in dominator rating. He has 8 touchdowns, which is good enough for top 10. And also as well, when it comes to the team usage, they're right in the middle, the Las Vegas Raiders. So as long as they continue to utilize him in the receiving game, we have to remember that when it comes to these prospects, especially generational prospects, Fizz, Ashton Jeanty is a generational prospect. I think he's the best prospect to come out since Saquon Barkley, maybe even better in some different ways, Fizz. So it's not going to stay this way. They are probably the worst looking team in the NFL this year, which is crazy to say that because we have a lot of respect for Pete Carroll and being able to be one of those coaches that gets the most out of his players. I don't blame it all on him. I blame a lot of it also on Spytek and Tom Brady and whatever they thought that they were going to be able to do by going win right now. It's kind of like what we're seeing for the Atlanta Falcons, where you're drafting basically these luxury picks with tight ends like Brock Bowers, Kyle Pitts, with the RBs like Bijan and Ashton Jeanty, with the QBs, they bring in Geno Smith. Oh, he hasn't done much better than Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins. So it's been a tough situation, but when you have a guy like Ashton Jeanty with that talent, with that receiving game chops, I still very much believe in it, especially if it is at a discounted price. And he's still ranking in the top 10 of RB's Fizz, despite how bad the situation is. So that's what makes him a buy for me. Maybe you're able to get him from some guys that, they had that sunk cost fallacy where it's just like, oh, well, you know what? He didn't pan out the way I wanted it to. So I'm just going to get out before it gets worse. I don't think things are going to get any worse, Fizz.
Yeah, and especially when he has a game like he had against the Cowboys. You wait for those bad games where he does nothing really, right? Because pop out the next week, he might put up 25, and that's your buy window gone already. So when he has one of those bad games with offense, or the Cleveland Brown game recently when Geno got sacked 10 times, you wait till he had one of those games, and then you start asking for Ashton Jeanty, because sooner or later he's going to pop back out with a 25, 30-point game, and whoever had him at first is going to say, damn, I don't want to trade him no more. So go get that buy window on a bad week for sure.
And in week 17, Fizz, he's playing the New York Giants. We just saw what Jahmyr Gibbs was able to do to the New York Giants. I understand that the Lions are in a completely different sport compared to where the Vegas Raiders are at right now. But the Giants, they're still bad on defense, So they have their up and down games. So I want to get Ashton Jeanty before that game. Fizz, let me ask you this before we move on to the next tier. I have Ashton Jeanty in my top 10, but with his price, considering where it's at in Dynasty football, would you be willing to trade him away and get a plus to get one of these other guys? Or are you going to hold Ashton Jeanty? I think that's one of the biggest dilemmas a lot of people are in.
I'll just say this. If I'm going to win that's a great question, bro, because the one thing we fear running back is the age, right? Because Ashton is so young. I gotta bet on a young guy to just continue to figure it out and get better, right? If I traded him, let's just say, for a Saquon Barkley in the plus, I'm not saying Saquon isn't still valuable, but he's 27, 28 years old. Now, if Saquon doesn't come back to being what I want him to be, and Ashton Jeanty gets it all in year 2, for the next 5 years of this dynasty, I'm be scratching my head like Vince McMahon, like, damn, what the hell is what I do? You know what I'm saying? So you got to think about what you want and what you can stomach. I always say this, and just knowing that if Ashton Jeanty pops off and they get a new coach, new system next year, and you start seeing him put up Jahmyr Gibbs numbers, and you looking at old Saquon Barkley sitting there with a toothpick in his mouth on the sideline like Razor Ramon, baby, I don't know if you're going to be the stomach of that one. So I'm just saying, if you're going to down tier from Ashton Jeanty, right, instead of me getting an older guy for this kind of price, it got to be some youth. I got to go. You know what you do? Ask for the Amari Hampton guy. Amari Hampton been hurt all this time. He been sitting around. You might have forgot about him, right? Hey, man, Art Hampton been on your bench. He ain't played in a while. What's the price? Because they were both neck and neck when they both were healthy. See if you can get a Hampton in a third or Hampton in the second. Like, because I still believe Hampton's in the better offense. And maybe whoever has Hampton is tired of looking at him melting on their bench, even though he's coming back soon. So a guy like that is who I have to get. I can't just go get some older guy for Ashton Jeanty. It just won't work for me.
So you're not going to get, if you're in a contender, you want to do CMC in a first for Ashton Jeanty or Saquon in a first for Ashton Jeanty. You want to do that?
Yeah, I could do that. I could do that. Because the first is included. Now, if it ain't no first, no, hell no.
Okay.
That first, it give me a little, it get the blood flowing a little bit.
Because Ashton Jeanty, spoiler alert, he ranks 8th in my process. Amari was 13th in my process. They're back-to-back.
Yeah.
Keep trade cut. So with that big of a gap, despite how great the situation has been in the Los Angeles Chargers as being a better situation, I say that to say I forget, though. We have to keep into account that they have been playing without their 2 best linemen, their 2 tackles. So maybe they are a lot closer. I mean, they were only 1 point away difference, Fizz, in my pre-draft process with my rookie grading. They were neck and neck, but I don't know. It's kind of tough. Maybe I need to see a little bit more from Amari and Hampton for him to rank a lot closer to me. I don't know. I kind of just like both. I kind of just want a share of both.
You got people that have Hampton who forgot how good he was. So I think his last game, Rob, before he got hurt, he had like 37 points, and then he got hurt the next week. So I'm just saying, if someone forgot, see if they can. If you have to do this, I'm not saying do it, but if you have to, it's burning a hole in your pocket to have Jeanty. You move Jeanty for a guy like Hampton and get a plus like a pick. I think that's a seal the deal movement for me, because when Hampton gets healthy and rolling again, I don't think you'll miss it. You'll regret it. So I just like it if I had to move on from Jeanty, but I'm not saying move on from him though.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it whatsoever. Fizz, Let's move on to the
That's
next
move
tier.
on, right?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
move on to the guy out of Dallas, the most surprising, by far the most surprising RB in 2025 with Javonte Williams.
I like that one, brother. There we go. Get some J. Will in there. I
Right
like
there. So happy. I think he's probably going to win comeback player of the year after coming. Did he come off an injury last year? So, or is he
I
just,
think he did. Well, his
yeah,
pride was injured for sure, but I can't
yeah,
remember
for sure.
can't remember if he was injured, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, it looks pretty rough in Denver, coming off multiple different major injuries after such a really good, I mean, he was the RB1 at one point, Fizz, during his rookie season. So he scored number 7 in my process. He is top 10 in points per game, in snap share, in routes per game, Fizz, in touchdowns at 9, 41 red zone touches, and then yards after contact. He's also top 10 as well. Elusiveness rating, and it has looked so damn good. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with one of the more under the radar hirings was when the Dallas Cowboys were able to get the offensive line and run game coach from the Arizona Cardinals, which has looked like one of the best run games over the last few years with James Conner. And I think he's played a huge part in Javonte Williams' success out in Dallas. He has a prime matchup in the playoffs against the Washington Commanders in that championship game. Biz, at RB, let me see where Javonte Williams is at. He is at RB 18, and he ranks number 7 in my process. So what are you going to be willing to give up for Javonte Williams? And do you think that he is here to stay at that price, especially even if they do draft an RB next year? Do you think that his job is safe where it's at?
And that's the biggest fear, bro, is he even a Cowboy next year? Like, we don't know, right? He doesn't have a long-term contract. It's a 1-year deal. And I've always said, even through the draft process, Dallas don't pay running backs. They don't draft running backs. And they didn't draft one this year, but they got Javonte Williams. I mean, they got, I done forgot his name already, Rob. What's my boy Blue? Blue, who
Even
doesn't
Blue, he doesn't do
count.
anything.
He doesn't count, which I said draft day. They went 1 year with Rico Dowdle last year. He seemed to be fine in Carolina. So maybe Dallas likes Javonte. They woke Javonte back up. And no matter if he's in Dallas or he goes to a Carolina type team, maybe he continues doing what he's doing. Maybe that Dallas is the new factory rock for 1 year running backs that are forgotten about or don't know what's going on. Then they boom, now they blown that. Because we say what Rico Dowdle did, bro. He is definitely taking all to another level.
There's no chance they do it 2 years in a row, though, Fizz. That's playing with fire.
Well, I just say this.
And Javonte?
I'll say this. If I am trading for Javonte, it's to win now. I'll worry about next year. Because if I have to worry about what team he's going to be on and this and that, I might as well not even make the trade. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm looking at right now, I'm getting Javonte because his situation might change next year. But I can be able to live with that with a big trophy on my arm and say, hey, I won the championship. Wherever he go, I figure it out later. So, yes, he is a buy. But, yes, I can say that I don't know for sure where he's going to be at next year. And I should be able to live with that if I win a championship with him. So he's definitely a battle, man, especially looking at what he did against Philly this recent week. And he hasn't really had an off week yet, Rock, really. Like, unless the offense was just terrible, the man has been the most consistent man out of any running back in the game this year. So top 10 in your rankings and 17 overall. And I think that's Dynasty ranking 17, right? Yeah, so I think that's more so because of the situation and the contract. If we knew Javonte had a 3-year deal on the table and he signed, he wouldn't be 17. That's a fact. So I like Javonte Williams, though, man. He is definitely a buy for sure. The question is, what's the price? Because I did say a couple months ago, and we talking my boy, shout out my boy Schumer. He let me get him for a 26 second. I smashed accept that one real fast. So I got him for a second. That was 2 months or maybe a month ago, maybe 4 weeks ago. Where is he at now with you versus just 1 second and 26?
So he's after the 2026 late first price. Here are the guys that are going ahead of him. A.J. Brown, another guy we're going to talk about later at the RB position who's a rookie. Jameson Williams, Rondé Gadsden, Zay Flowers. He is going ahead of Chase Brown, Jordan Addison, Trevor Lawrence, Cam Ward, Michael Pittman. So I think about half of those guys I'd be willing. Definitely like J-Mo, who we talked about in our last video as a sell, Fizz, because he's just too up and down.
Yeah.
So I might hold on to Zay Flowers. Chase Brown, we're going to talk about in a little bit here soon. If you're tired of looking at A.J. Brown, going from A.J. Brown to Javonte Williams might be a good play.
Yeah, if you're tired of looking at them, me personally, I think they're that close that I just like the receiver. If someone's this close, I'm going with the receiver. But if you're tired of looking at doo-doo on your team, baby, go ahead and get your shiny star. All right, I always got to throw A.J. Brown. But
let me ask you, why do you prefer the wide receiver if it's so like hit or miss compared to is it just because of the insulation and Dynasty? Because Javonte Williams, he's not going to really let you down.
I say this is the reason why, Rock, and you brought it up earlier this year. A.J. Brown was a monster last year. 1,500 yards, right? He's just going through a patch. I don't believe that Javonte Williams, if he has a year like this and then next year he falls off, we'll be screaming and shouting about, hey, he's going to come back soon. I think A.J. Brown having a bad year, come into the offseason, if he's still in Philly or he's go to the Patriots or whatever, you're still going to kind of sort of believe that he can get it right. Sometimes running backs after 1 year, man, people just say, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, think about J.K. Dobbins. He's an injury-prone guy, but J.K. Dobbins, every year, he can run for 1,000 yards in 10 games. People still going to say, man, I don't want no J.K. Dobbins. He ain't all that. Even though you got a good 10 games of success. So I think the running back position, man, and I'm included in this bunch, we just don't put respect on it enough, man. So I would just say if I have to go this close with my guy, now we'll say Jameson Williams, I don't want because the inconsistency of him. So when I say this close with the receiver and running back, it has to be an elite talent like an A.J. Brown to me that I would take A.J. But if we're talking Jameson Williams, no, I want Javonte Williams. So I think that's where I'm at with it. The elite receiver versus the running back versus just the boom bust receiver and the running back.
That's just interesting only because, A.J. Brown, he might be entering into like the Stephon Diggs phase of his career where he's, cliffed a little bit, but he's still going to have like plenty of like games or maybe like a third of the season where he can really pop off. But he's not going to be every week in and week out, one of those types of guys that is going to have that elite production. I think those days are over for guys like A.J. Brown at 28 years old. But yeah, that's a good discussion. I think it's just always good for us to question things, especially when it comes to, the things that we're so used to doing in Dynasty football, like preferring the wide receiver to the RB. So Fizz, I want to go on to my next tier. These are the solid values. So my honorable mentions in this tier are Travis Etienne, Derrick Henry, Jalen Warren, Kenneth Walker. My first buy at RB11, one of the guys who I said was going to be a one-hit wonder, and he's proven me wrong, is Chase Brown out of Cincinnati. Fizz, there is no one that has a better playoff schedule than the Cincinnati Bengals at the running game position because they are going up against, with Joe Burrow coming back, luckily, Baltimore, Buffalo, Baltimore again, Miami, and Arizona. All those defenses rank in the bottom 10 when it comes to fantasy points that they give up to the RB position. So there is no one. He has a perfect score when it comes to the playoff stretch. And with Samaje Perine, he has been hurt, so he's been really popping off this past week. Samaje Perine is coming back after a lengthy absence, but so is also too Joe Burrow, who I think massively changes things. He just had a quote earlier today saying like he's not going to play scared. Even if the season is lost for the Cincinnati Bengals, he wants to play. He wants to compete, even if he's not 110%. So I do appreciate that about Joe Burrow. Here are some of the things for Chase Brown. He is top 10 in target share and routes per game, and also to production rank and expected production rank as well. What do you think of Chase Brown? And especially with that playoff run, do you think that he's going to be worth the price? I've been trying to sell him Fizz for a second and can't even get a second for him. So I think he's one of the cheapest when it comes to these RBs.
Well, I think the reason why you may not get a second now is because Joe Burrow wasn't there. And some people are always scared of with the what if, right? I think Joe Burrow being there now, if I was you, I would still try those prices again because Joe Burrow just being there alone raises people's eyebrows and says, hey, if Joe Burrow had the offense, not saying Flacco didn't have it looking solid, but just hearing the name Joe Flacco in your offense kind of raises up the price for everybody. So if I was you and you really want to trade him, I would try now when Joe Flacco comes back. But me personally, me and you had kind of been on the same thing with Chase Brown all offseason. Unfortunately for Taj Brooks and these other guys who we thought would maybe put an imprint in, Chase Brown has locked down this backfield, man. He's shown that he is the true number one. And I wasn't buying his price this offseason because he was going over some guys that I, just kind of expected higher. But I would still keep a Javonte Williams over him. I think in this offense, though, when we're talking the running back position, he has it. So I would just say, man, if you're looking to sell or buy, you're buying because Joe Burrow is there, and you're selling because you don't really want him anyway, and Joe Burrow is there, and the price kind of went up. So I'm 50-50 with Chase. If I had to get him, it better be for a good price. But if I'm looking to sell just because I just don't trust the consistency of maybe what he can do, because we know Joe Burrow going to throw that ball, man. And, the defense being so bad, though, hey, maybe they run the ball and throw it. He is a pass catcher as well. So I don't know, man. Maybe I'm just a hater of Chase Brown. I don't know. But
I'm right there with you, man. Only because, he came out of nowhere, and I thought he was definitely going to be one of those one-hit wonders where half the RBs every year, Fizz, they filter in and out. And there's 6 of the RBs are going to always be in the top 12. And there's going to be 6 that just are going to be here 1 year, and then we're never going to see them again. Chase Brown, he has the chance to be able to be in the top 12 again this year, especially with Joe Burrow coming back. I think he can just go on an epic run. Remember last year, it was Jonathan Taylor and it was Chase Brown that won people championships last year. I think that he has that in the cards again this year. He is going right after Javonte Williams in Dynasty rankings. So if you can't get Javonte for a second and maybe a third, maybe it's worth giving up a second just for Chase Brown, especially if, with how bad the Cincinnati Bengals are at drafting players, Fizz, I think Chase Brown's going to have his job pretty safely for the next year or two. So that's all we're looking at when it comes to all these RBs, especially with the second round pick, Fizz. You're only looking at 2-year windows. So it's this year and next year. I think he's going to be pretty safe. But let's go with the guy that you have in the graphic right there. One of my favorite RBs, one of the guys that everyone thinks is going to continually regress, and he continually
setting us up, right?
people. Is Kyren Williams.
Yeah.
Kyren Williams, he ranked 15th in my process, Fizz. He's still top 10 in snap share. It's not as big as it has been, especially over the last few weeks, Fizz. Blake Corum has been getting a lot more touches, especially this past week, but he's still top 10 in touchdowns. He is the clear goal line back that they go with. The red zone touches, he's still top 10. And production rank, expected production rank, and team usage, Fizz. Despite the Rams being the heaviest pass offense in the NFL over the last month, they still really utilize the position. So they're ranked 3rd in position team usage at the RB position, the Los Angeles Rams. I think a lot of it has to do with the ecosystem, Fizz, which is why I think Kyren Williams will continue to always be a buy. What do you think of Kyren Williams? What do you think of the LA Rams offense?
You just finished it with the last sentence. The LA Rams offense, brother. As long as he's in LA and he's in that offense, I do believe Sean McVay has a thing with his running backs. With when he wants you, he got you. But you miss a couple games, he find a new guy, he will replace you. And so far, Kyren hasn't been that guy. I thought Kyren would maybe, the Blake Corum hype was coming. Hunter, the all offseason Hunter, they got him. But Kyren has his job. They gave him the contract. So at least for 2 years, I believe number 23 is going to be the number one as far as the production in that backfield. So as long as Matt Stafford doing his thing, Sean McVay calling the plays, Kyren Williams, man, is going to at least fall in the end zone and get the red zone touches at minimum. And this team will score 30 points a week. So, hey, you guarantee a 10-point game out of Kyren every week minimum, man. So double-digit game for the 23. I'm with it. He's a buy for me for sure, Rob.
Yeah, and with 2 prime matchups against Carolina and Arizona in week 13 and 14, and then an amazing matchup in week 17 against Atlanta, I think that those are going to be another reason, maybe as a tiebreaker, if you're considering you can't get some of those guys that I listed in the top 10. Maybe you can't get Josh Jacobs. Hey, you're not going to feel bad about having Kyren Williams on your team.
For sure.
Before we move on to the sells, I'm going to do what I've done for all the other past videos, injury gambles. So you know me, I usually like to stay away from the guys who are hurt, especially when it comes to the skill players. But I want to bring up some of these names and see if you're interested in any of them. Cam Scatterbo, Trey Benson, J.K. Dobbins, Alvin Kamara. All four of those guys ranked in the top 30 in my process, Fizz. So at the very least, they're RB3s flex options. They're all coming off major injuries. Alvin Kamara, I hope he does come back, especially for that Christmas game. I haven't heard too much. I just know he has a knee injury. He's in the final year of his contract. There seems to be a lot of different things that are going on. But Alvin Kamara, it's him, Derrick Henry, and CMC. They're the top 3 RBs of this generation, though, Fizz. But do you see the window close on an Alvin Kamara? And what do you think of those other 3 guys?
Well, Alvin Kamara, man, I think it's closed, bro. He already said that if you trade him, he's sipping pina coladas, meaning he ain't going nowhere. But we don't know if that was he doesn't want to get moved during the season. Maybe he wants a clean off season of I pick where I want to go versus you sending me somewhere else. So it could have been, mixed reviews with that one, man, because he said it, don't trade me or else. And if his contract runs up and they get rid of him, he has to pick of the litter of where he wants to go. Maybe that's what he wants. So I don't know, man, with Kamara. He's still Kamara. You know what I'm saying? He's still a great talent. And the way he plays the game is not like he's some bruiser like a lot of these older running backs when they get banged up. Kamara is swift. He's quick, man, on his feet. So I have reservations with Kamara. I would just say out of all these guys, to sum up this conversation, Scatterbo is the conversation for me for a buy. And the reason why is because he's the youngest out of all those guys. J.K. Dobbins, we all know, is you kind of predicted it all year. He's going to get hurt at some point, and he did. If I have RJ,
I was hoping to be wrong about that, Fizz.
I know, and I was hoping you were too, and damn it, you wasn't. So I have a lot of Dobbins on my bench just melting away. Right now he wasn't placed on IR for the year. He's he's not gone for the year, but I don't see him coming back, to be honest. So I'll just say,
at least not for us in fantasy. I think he'll come back maybe for the playoffs for the Denver Broncos, who are a shoe-in.
And as good as he was, what you're hoping is that Sean Payton says, hey, man, we're going to give you a slight deal. Maybe come back next year. And you have that RJ Harvey. Then you see, hey, let me get Dobbins, man. He on your bench. Let me go ahead and just get my backup just in case for next year, especially in a best ball situation. But to me, ultimately, Cam Scatterbo is the buy because, one, the hype was real. It was fun looking at him. He inspired me, Rock, because I wasn't the biggest Scatterbo fan. I was letting you do your thing, but as minute he got hurt, man, I jumped on the train. I got like 2 or 3, 4 Scatterbo purchases just because the guy, man, the way I know he plays and I know he wants to play, he just made me say, you know what, I gotta have this guy on my team, man, because he doesn't look like a guy that got hurt and he's going to give up. Now, would his body give up on him? That's something we don't know, but he's good enough when he played. And he looks like he's happy. He's not in the dumps. That I gotta get the guy, man. Is what I'm trying to say. So if I was getting one of these guys out of this bunch, the youngest and the most, energetic one that I saw was Cam Scatterbo. Problem is, rather Cam Scatterbo price. The people that like me who look at him and say, man, I gotta get this guy on my team. The guys that have him say, I want to keep him on my team. They don't want to get rid of him either. So it's some people that don't want to get rid of him, and guys like me that's trying to get more of them. So. We're just trying to figure out who won them and who don't. But Cam Scatterbo to me is the buy to all these injured guys. Man. He's just more exciting and more younger.
Last thing I want to ask you, this is a very unique position in that handcuffs are a huge thing, because there's no other position like it in that regard. Are there any handcuffs for some of these RBs that you really want to, try to trade for? So do you want to trade for a guy like Breece Hall, who he ranked 31 in my process, Fizz? Travis Etienne is number 12 in my process. So he's having a hell of a career.
Still hate him, though. That's the crazy part, Rock. Every week they hype up Breece Hall. And meanwhile, Etienne just scoring. The man is like, you're not taking my job, man. I'm sorry.
So with the possible injury, I think that's basically where it comes into, because Breece Hall, if Etienne does get hurt, his price is going to rocket up. There is players like Charbonnet, Let me see who else is
I'm gonna
on
give
here.
you one right now, Rock, that I've been trying for the hardest. Especially if I have the number one, Tyler Algier, man, is a
Oh yeah,
RB. I know Bijan even said it himself. He's not an RB2. He's a 1B. And this team
yeah.
seems to use him as a 1B because every time when Bijan goes out on the sideline, Algier scores a damn touchdown. So if you have Bijan if not, you're not getting him for just a backup running back. If you have Bijan, go get Tyler Algier, period.
Yeah. Yeah. Tyler Algier, he ranked 40th in my process, Fizz, but that's going to be a hell of a lot better if something were to happen to Bijan Robinson.
Maybe someone signs him to be their number one next year. I think he's on a 1-year deal this year, so he could be a Rico Dowdle winner. We might have Javonte Williams, Rico Dowdle, and Tyler Algier, bro, in free agency. That might be a hell of a free agency for running backs, man.
That would be pretty wild. I think a lot of that has to do with the RB class that's coming out of the draft next year. So the RB draft class is loaded. Then, yeah, maybe we're going to see more of these guys in free agency. If it's not really loaded, outside of RBs like Love who are coming out, maybe these guys are going to get re-signed just because there's not much talent that's going to be coming out in 2026. The last name I'll say, Kenneth Gainwell, ranked 29th in my process, top 30. He's like an RB like 50 something Fizz. So, wow. And we've seen a lot of explosive guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are all the guys that I have for the buys. You want to end things on a bad note, Fizz? A little sour taste in our mouth with some of these sells. So
get up out of there, baby. Hook them up, man. Get to selling. It is Black Friday. And because we're releasing this on Black Friday. So get this selling and get to telling, play. But let us know something.
Yeah. So on my sell list, I have Breece Hall, who ranked as my 19th RB Fizz, ranked top 12. I know.
It hurt my heart, brother. I gotta hold it like Fred Stanford, baby. I'm over here having a heart attack right now. Don't tell me Breece Hall. No, Rod. Don't do me like that, man.
I'm gonna make it even worse. Quinshon Judkins, the guy that I feel like has impressed us the most when it comes to fantasy football. He ranked 27th in my process phase. He's RB9 in Dynasty football. And then here's another favorite one of ours, RJ Harvey, ranked 42nd in my list phase in my research. And then Woody Marks, who you have there as the graphic, at 43. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Breece Hall, because I want to get out of the way, man. Deck the halls with Breece, baby. Deck the halls with Breece. Let me know something.
So let me see where he ranks top 10 in any of the metrics. Well, he's in breakaway run rate, Fizz. He's number 1 in the NFL, right ahead of Achane at 9.9%, which is awesome. So that's one of the best things about him is that he is arguably one of the most athletic. It's like him, Saquon Barkley, Bayshal Tootin. They're 3 of the more rare breed RBs, Fizz, where they rank in the 90th percentile, in the 40, in speed, in burst. So him and Kenneth Walker coming out, they absolutely blew up the combine. He has a lot of amazing production out of college in Iowa State. The Jets are number 1 when it comes to neutral run rate. They can't really pass the ball, and they choose not to with their QBs, Fizz. So they have some different things going their way. But you're not getting what you need for a guy that is at price where he's at, RB12 in Dynasty football. It really comes down to, has nothing to do with Breece Hall. It comes down to the situation, Fizz. And with them not trading him away, what do you expect for them to do with him next year? It's just like they could have traded him away. I think they have intentions of keeping Breece Hall in that terrible situation, Fizz.
Yeah.
So that's the number one reason why I have him as a sell list. Sometimes you just have to look with clear eyes, Fizz. What do you expect the upside of having a guy like Breece Hall, despite all of his talent, if the situation is as bad as it is? Do you expect them to utilize all this capital in the best, most efficient way possible, completely turn around the Jets, get a QB, be able to develop him? All that bullshit, Fizz, that ain't going to happen. Wake up and smell the coffee. Sell Breece Hall while he's still a top 12 asset. Get something else, especially if you want to get a championship under your belt, Fizz.
I'm with you. Unfortunately, due to circumstances and situations, Breece might have a wasted career, man, unfortunately.
I think he's still luckily young enough where he can have a back half of his career like a CMC. He has a lot of the same tools as CMC does. He can get it done both rushing and receiving. He just needs to go to an amazing coach. Like he got lucky going to Shanahan in the Bay Area in San Francisco.
Yeah.
He needs to find something like that.
He did. You're right.
But the Jets might not let him go. They might just try to throw a whole bunch of money at him. So hopefully Breece Hall, doesn't do what Myles Garrett did, where it's just like he wants to get out of that situation, but then he's like, all right, what about here's $200 million. He's not going to get that money because he's a running back. But the other one that I was pretty surprised about, but it's the same. It's like the same thing, but instead of green, Fizz, it's orange. It's Quinshon Judkins. He ranked as my 27th running back, Fizz. He ranks top 10 in dominator rating via player profiler, and that's it, Fizz. Neutral run weight, the Browns are number 3 when it comes to running the ball, so they definitely utilize it a lot. And that makes a lot of sense with their quarterback position and that carousel that's going on. Their offensive line has been god-awful, which is surprising with how Quinshon Judkins, he's gotten all those goal line touches. But with him sharing a backfield with another very talented RB and Dylan Sampson, with the QB situation that's going on, the only reason why you want to hold on to Quinshon Judkins is if you have a personal affinity for him. It's like you go from Nick Chubb, who was my favorite player in the NFL, to Quinshon Judkins. But outside of that, personal feelings, Fizz, you don't want to necessarily, for a guy that is ranked RB9 in Dynasty football, he's not even ranked in the top 12 in points. So outside of that, it just comes down to personal feelings, Fizz. What do you think about Quinshon Judkins? Do you think that the situation doesn't really matter, that he can rise above the situation?
Well, unfortunately, I don't think he has the. I know he's Quinshon Judkins now. I'm not doubting his talent, right? But I think Nick Chubb was like the ultimate Browns running back. Like Nick Chubb could turn a bad team or a bad situation and still make running back position just look that good. And I'm not saying Quinshon can't, but I think with him being a rookie, they're so up and down with the offense. The quarterback situation is a mess. They got 2 first-round picks. I'm not saying he's not a buy or a sell. I just don't know what to do with him. Is what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm saying? It's like the situation is not as bad as the Jets, but it kind of is at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
I was about to say that. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It is. So it's like this what I would just say. The problem isn't going to be Quinshon Judkins. It's the opportunity of points that are going to be scored and the yardage getting put up on his team. So if you on a bottom tier team like the Cleveland Browns, who might average 18 points a game, 16 points, 15 points, 14 points, how many points is this running back going to get? You know what I'm saying? Because you need touchdowns. This is the reason why Kyren Williams, we just talked about, is in his situation always going to be valuable because the Rams are always going to score. So unfortunately for Quinshon, man, he's just in a situation where they won't score a lot of points, and his counterpart over there in New England is in the offense where they're going to score points. Treyveon Henderson, both of those guys came from Ohio State. So one is in a situation where the team don't score nothing, and one is in a situation where this team is scoring every week. So those are the differences, man, of just the running back position. When your team is scoring points, it helps you as the running back. But without the points on the board, baby, it's hard to put points on the fantasy scores.
And just to open people's eyes, Fizz, he ranks outside the top 30 in snap share. He's only at 49.6%. He's outside the top 30 in target share. So if you're going to be on a really bad offense, you got to be involved in the passing game. That he's not getting whatsoever.
That's the difference between him and Ashton Jeanty. Ashton Jeanty, we know, doesn't have anybody to worry about as far as his job goes. So I like that. You're right.
Breakaway runs, only 3.8%. That's also outside the top 30. He has the athleticism. He has a lot of the juice, but it's just a tough situation where he's at right now. There's just too many things that are working against him. So that's just, I don't know. These are just the numbers that I'm just trying to present to people. So if you have the RB9 in fantasy football and he's not producing like the RB9 or better, then you have to question whether or not you want to hold on to him, especially with the Cleveland Browns situation, Fizz. Ain't ever going to change. Ever. It's just unfortunate with where it is. Let's go to another orange team in RJ Harvey. One of the guys that I was super excited for, Fizz, but the moment that he does get the opportunity his way, J.K. Dobbins no longer in the picture, his efficiency went real far down.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to be a complimentary back. Fizz, unfortunately, there's just no 5'8" running backs that ever rank in the top 12. And at 5'8", a lot of people think, oh, there's not that much of a difference between 5'8" and 5'9", Fizz. There's a hell of a difference. Every inch matters in the NFL. And outside of the top 30, he is in points per game. He's in snaps. He's in target share. There isn't outside of, let me see where he's at. He's a 96th percentile in college dominant. Coming out of college phase, he was one of the best prospects. Absolutely fell in love with him. Targets per run, he is top 10. That's it. It's just those two metrics. There's not a single other one where he ranks inside the top 20. So there's just not a lot that's going on with RJ Harvey. And he just has to buck like a whole bunch of historical trends in order to be worth what he is in Dynasty football. So RB42, I think he's definitely a sell. What do you think about RJ Harvey before we move on to our last guy?
Yeah, unfortunately, bro, I was really high on Harvey in the offseason. I'll just say the difference between him and Judkins is at least there's potential for an uprise in this offense because the whole offense is taking a step back, not just the run game. Bo Nix, bad season compared to what we thought. A lot of guys in this offense, the Evan Ingram, the joker of this offense, done nothing. So maybe he's just in a situation where J.K. Dobbins, though, he did surprise us into what he did. He's a veteran, though. Harvey just needs a little bit of tread underneath his tires. And I think Sean Payton, if I trust anybody in the scheme and the offense, maybe Sean Payton does lock in. They reached for him in the draft. Some people thought it took him higher than what we thought he would have went. So, hey, I think if Sean Payton drafted him that high, maybe he'll try to get him in a better position. But if I had to pick between him and Judkins, I like the name brand of Judkins, but I like the situation more of Denver Broncos.
Yep, I completely agree with you there. Let's go with the guy that you have in that graphic right there, Woody Marks. A lot of this has to do with the situation as well. He ranked one spot after RJ Harvey for me. He does not rank inside the top 20 in any of those major metrics. He has a 18.2% dominator rating. That's good for enough for top 30 Fizz. He's got a couple more top 30 rankings like breakaway runs, touchdowns. But outside of that, there's not really much that Woody Marks has been able to do in an offense that hasn't looked all that great. It's been pretty bad.
Offensive line, bro. He came the worst time. The offensive line, they just broke down in shambles and, asked a 30-year-old running back and Nick Chubb to run behind it, let alone a Woody Marks. So
the nice thing is with both Harvey and Woody, they both have receiving, chops to their game.
Yeah.
And they're on offenses where they could turn it around. They have some of the pieces, where things can get turned around in like one season, which is why they're kind of soft sells when it comes to RJ Harvey and Woody Marks. Maybe you're not going to be able to get much more than what you invested in them. I don't think they're nearly as good of sells as Breece Hall, Quinshon, because you get a lot more bang for your buck when you sell those guys compared to Harvey and Marks. And I generally don't like selling rookies, Fizz. I want to see a little bit more from them. It's more the question what we're discussing is the situation. Do we really expect things to change around very drastically, or would it be better to utilize these guys for another type of piece, especially if you're making a playoff run? So that's the reason why I put them on here. Number 42, number 43 in my list. They're ranked a hell of a lot higher in Dynasty ranks. So that's why I put them on here.
I'm with you, bro. Like you said, man, I hate trading the rookies because it's basically a re-roll. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You took the chance. You didn't get what you thought out of it, or at least you didn't think you got what you thought. And next year you're re-rolling and you realize all I needed was just to wait. Because sometimes you re-roll with this new rookie who's going to give you the same thing that the other guy that you got rid of is going to give you. So it's up to you, man, whether you're willing to wait or you just willing to say, hey, man, I'm done with it, wash my hands of it, and we're going to move on. So just make sure your stomach don't turn upside down when you press accept, baby. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Fizz, we've been going for a little bit, and we put a lot of work into the last month with all these different videos. How do you feel overall about these guys? Do you have any favorite buys or sells from the entire series before we end things on?
That's a great question, bro. I'll say one, I've learned a lot because sometimes you go into things thinking you know what you know, and then you learn other things. So I will say I've learned a lot between every position, especially the running back position, because the CMC thing, seeing how that played out for us this year, a lot of us was up and down with it. A lot of disrespect was put on his name in mock drafts this off season. So I've learned a lot through this whole process, but I will just say I'm gonna stick to my guns when it comes to one, getting the guy that I can stomach having, or the opportunity that I can stomach of trading away. I never want to do something that because it sounds good or looks good on paper that I can't live with the next day, because anything can happen the next day. And I will just say too, learning to just kind of stay water, baby. It's like you said on the cook up yesterday morning, Tuesday morning. Pretty
Yeah.
much, man. If I got a guy that I'm on the fence about, but I really see a greater vision, a greater pass, just go ahead and just hold on, because you're getting rid of a guy like we just said with the re-roll, and then this other guy who had the vision that I'm having right now is say, hey, I just got him. He ain't doing much, but I know when I get him, it's going to be, so just make sure you make a decision that you can stomach. But at the end of the day, with this running back process anyway, hey, these young guys are here and they coming to take this game over, baby. It's a young man's game. I'm learning. And if you ain't godly like CMC and JT and Saquon B, I'm just saying, man, these young guys is here. They run this thing up, man. So, hey, keep the youth in your room, baby, but don't sleep on the old guys either.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I'm sure when people traded away CMC or Derrick Henry like 2 years ago, they're like, oh, they don't have that much left in the tank. Look at them now. They're still killing it, Fizz. They're still running away, putting fear in defenses. So, yeah, don't write people off too soon, is what I would say for a lot of these guys, especially at the RB position.
Don't
Don't
write
get
the
enough
gods,
respect, Fizz.
off, baby. You can write the people off, but gods are different. You feel me? So
Exactly.
CMC is a god, baby. Don't write him off. Is what I'm saying.
Absolutely. So hopefully everyone that was tuning in enjoyed this series, put a lot of work into it. And so hopefully you guys are able to trade for some of these guys. But yeah, just like you were saying, trade for the guys that you want. Gave you guys lots of different names. So hopefully there's a little bit of something out there for everybody. And Fizz, that's all I got. I just want to say I'm very super thankful for the South Harmon Vibes channel, everything we've been able to produce. Super thankful for the audience and for you holding things down. As the host, as my co-host, being able to talk about all these different things with you is a hell of a lot of fun. So I hope everyone has a very amazing Thanksgiving holiday, however you want to celebrate it. And go get yourself something real nice for you and your family and your friends on Black Friday. Spend a little bit of money, live it up. You never know. So that's always how I always want to operate, Fizz. So I'm pretty excited for that.
That's it, man. Well, we're gonna get up out of here. We appreciate y'all, man. If you didn't get a chance to catch the other ones, you need some run. Because we did the show 3 weeks ago, don't mean it didn't age or did maybe it might not have aged well, Rock. But hey, maybe sometime wine takes time. It takes time, baby, to get fine. So you got to go back and watch out the receivers and quarterbacks and all that. But today is the running backs, man. We gonna get up out of here. It's Black Friday, and instead of buying TVs, get you some CMC, baby. We gonna close it out like that. Rob, you did your thing. You was in the kitchen. You cooked up, and we gonna end it like that, big dog. So shout out to you. We out of this thing, baby.
Uh,
I got the juice. I show the proof. Everything about you is a lie, and she knowing the truth. She